Welcome to the Insurance Brokers Podcast, Helpful Hints. Here we break down the best, most informative bits of our full-length interviews.
The last 12 months, the entire world has changed in so many ways. And some of those changes, I think, are probably here to stick. I don't think the Zoom era will disappear quickly. I think might reduce, but I think it's probably here to stay in many, many organizations. I've had conversations with our clients and with prospects about how they've tried to use this 12 months to pivot, to change direction, or to put some. I know Thomas Carroll have done a huge amount of work in terms of the internal infrastructure, whether it's technical, whether it's strategic, huge amount of work. And a lot of organizations have started to think this way. What do you think is coming in the next 5 years or so for our industry? And I'm not particularly talking about the fact that PI rates are going through the roof or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, from a management structural kind of perspective, what opportunities are there? What should we be looking for as a small or a big organization and jumping on?
I mean, that is a big question, Sarah, but I'll try and give you a reasonably concise answer. I mean, first and foremost, you're obviously absolutely right. The last 12 months have been transformational in the way that we've all behaved. And I'm a very firm advocate, and I've said this on numerous occasions, that we mustn't think that the last 12 months have forced us to do stuff, because that has sort of negative connotations. I think there's a fantastic amount of really positive change that has happened as a consequence of us needing to change the way we do things. There's nothing better than a face-to-face meeting, but I think that we have learned that we actually can work remotely now. The systems have been very robust, and our people have been incredibly flexible and resilient in learning how to work in this new world, and we don't want to lose that. That's not to say that we won't be bringing people back into the office as soon as we possibly can, because this personal engagement is so important. And some of the things we talked about earlier about having people working alongside one another so that they're sharing client experiences and client servicing is all key. But there's so many things that have happened that we really must embrace for the future in the way that we deliver to clients. From a management perspective, one thing it is absolutely forced senior leadership teams to do is to face issues that in the past they would have regarded as almost taboo. That there's a tendency amongst particularly the small and medium firms, I think, to sort of just tick along and just carry on doing what we're doing and just try and expand our reach a little bit more and protect what we've got. And I think what we've learned over the last 12 months is that is no way forward. There are so many things that we can and should be doing now to embrace the modern world, that it would be an absolute tragedy if senior leadership teams didn't step up and take that challenge. And amongst the things that I think we need to be doing is greater empowerment of people, trust people in our teams more, share more with them, collaborate more with them, take their views on things. Again, one of the huge benefits that I've noticed from some of the work we've been doing in recent times is that people that don't work in a particular business stream have some really interesting and perceptive observations about the way other business streams operate. Simply because they're not immersed in it, they see it from a different perspective. So trust your entire workforce to have valuable views. We've done a lot in terms of trying to encourage our younger staff to contribute to our future direction. Younger staff, they don't have the experience, but they're not also constrained by the past either and convention. They do have new and different views to share, and some of those are really, really valuable to a business. So I would embrace your younger workforce and give them a platform to talk about what might happen in the future and where a business might go. In terms of structure, digitalization is a huge issue. We've been forced to become more digitally efficient over the past 12 months. Let's keep that process going, because the old style of insurance broker will still have a place. But if you want to grow at the rate that most businesses say they want to grow, you have to embrace other types of market, other types of transaction. So embrace digitalization as well, and just think a little bit more creatively. I mean, one of the things that the pandemic has taught us is that the old norms no longer exist. And, we have to be sufficiently visionary to look at things that perhaps in the past would have been inconceivable. So I think you need a degree of more open-mindedness at the very top of a business too, because closed-mindedness is going nowhere.
Do you know what? I agree. And again, to add to that, a few things on top of COVID that I think are incredibly important in the direction that we're going are the sort of, I don't know, I get confused whether it's Gen Y, Gen Z, Millennial, I don't know which one's which, but essentially the younger generations are so attuned to technology that I think it's really important that we're embracing that. But also, one of the first podcasts I did for the Insurance Broker podcast was with Peter Cullen. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he was saying was that by 2030 or, whenever it might be, actually the insurance industry is going to change. The big boys, Amazon, the Googles are going to sort of almost own it. And we need to be thinking about those type of changes because it's all digital. It's all algorithm based. There are all kinds of studies going on that are doing technical underwriting using algorithms and computers and all that kind of stuff. It's happening. It's coming. What can we do to kind of work with it? And I think it's really, really important to keep that in mind. And just a sort of a non-business anecdote, my son started a new school on the 5th of January on an iPad with a new teacher, new classmates, etc. Mm-hmm. He started back at school when schools went back, feeling like he knew that school and the teacher and some of the kids in it, because to him, almost that Zoom has built a relationship that enabled him to feel confident going in. That I felt that. I mean, how many Zoom calls have we had? And we've never met in person. No, but when I realized that, it's a bit of a surprise. And that, that idea is really well worth embracing, that generational thing. The other thing is that I wanted to add, which I nearly forgot. I read a book by Charles Handy called The Second Curve. Mm-hmm. Really interesting book. Highly recommend everybody read it. And it's about sort of the circular changes that go on in society and in business, and at what point you need to jump to be really successful, the cutting edge, the bleeding edge, whatever you want to call it, recognizing where that second curve is coming and then jumping on it. And it was Peter Cullen that told me to read Charles Handy, and I really, really enjoyed that book. Mm-hmm. And I think the second curve has been massively pressed fast forward on throughout COVID, and it's worth us all having that kind of visionary thinking to move forward.
I mean, one thing I've said on a few times on LinkedIn as well, we hear a lot now about looking forward to getting back to normal. I think the successful business won't be going back anywhere. The successful business will embrace, and I hate this phrase, the new normal. They will take this opportunity for true transformation. If they don't, then I think they've got problems. But I think this is a once in a lifetime catalytic opportunity to really change our behaviors, really embrace cultural change, and really make a difference. And for my part, I'm all for embracing that.